Hi, it's Tino. What you got in our new Clay Doh from Tino Vo shop? Let me show you how to use it. So in this lesson, first I'm gonna tell you what is Clay Doh and when to use it. I also gonna show you how to work with the material, what to do, what not to do, what to avoid. I also gonna show you the best working surface for Clay Doh. Because a lot of people think that it's a nail form, but it either or. So I also gonna tell you how to stick Clay Doh onto the fingers. Because that is a challenge for some people to use a non-stick material to stick it onto some things. I also gonna show you how to secure Clay Doh. So not only it's beautiful, but it's also functionable on your client finger and it stay forever. So first up, let's talk about the material itself. So Clay Doh, it is like clay. Okay, let me get some more out. And if you break it apart, it breaks apart like clay. So this is something that I use for structure. Now I also have another material in my shop. It's called 3D icing. Now 3D icing is opposite than Clay Doh. It is like chewing gum. It's stretchy, and you can already see how stretchy it is. It's non-stick though. It looks sticky, but it's non-stick. See on my fingers? It just roll around like Clay Doh, but when you pluck it out, it's stretchy. See that? Instead of falling apart like clay. So this Clay Doh is something that you use for structure, where this 3D icing is something that you use for flow and flexibility. Shape that are flowing, things that need movement, things that even the way that you applied it, because 3D icing, I drag it, I press and drag, and it can stretch out really thin. Where Clay Doh is where I scooped, I carve, I scoop little shape like little square, little oval, little rectangles, and I carve texture and make little flower petal and I piece them together. So that is Clay Doh. It's for structure, and an easier way for you to remember it is it's exactly like clay, where this one is like chewing gum. So that is your first lesson, is when to use Clay Doh. Whenever you need stability, whenever you need to carve something on the surface of Clay Doh like that, and you want it to remain there. Versus 3D icing, if you were to make an indentation like that on 3D icing, it will fuse back and smooth back together, because 3D icing is cell level, and I write it on here for solid, because it's a solid material and it's smooth and flexible. Where Clay Doh, I also write it on here solid, and the 3D is moldable. One is flexible and one is moldable. So the big question here is, okay, I have it, I love it, I know what to use for. Now, how do I start? Let's come to the technicality of it. So let's execute this. How you start using Clay Doh is that it have 4 main shape when it comes to rolling Clay Doh. And that is what you do, is you roll it. At least that's how you start anyway. So the first shape is a circle. Okay. A circle shape are easy. You either do it with your hand like this. I'm sure most of you know how to do this as a kid. In kindergarten, when you play with clay, you roll it into a circle. You can also put it on a mat like this. And this is just paper, like a card note or index paper that you find at the store. And it's nice and clean. You have a whole bunch of it. You can use one piece at a time. You lay it on here, and you take your finger and you roll it round and round and round into a circle shape. Now, the next shape is a teardrop. A teardrop is where it's round on one side and pointy on the other side. So now, instead of rolling like this, which is flat, it's gonna give you like a noodle or a oblong shape. You are tilting your hand on one side So the other side is free. And then you roll it. And what happened is that angle, that 45-degree angle that you put your hand or your finger in, I'm sorry, not your hand, but your fingers. See how it's become a teardrop at the end? You just take your finger, which is flat, and you just tilt it 45 degrees and you roll it. And there's a teardrop shape. So in order for you to do a leaf shape, which is pointy on both ends, okay, or a marquee shape, then after you do this, you just do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, so now you do both sides, and that will give you a leaf shape. And then in the middle, you can lay your hand a little flat and roll in the middle just a little bit, so it's not too bulky in the middle. That's how you can adjust your shape. Okay, and the last one will be the noodle. Now, this is also very common. And of course, you can do different shape, but these are basic shape. This is how you start. Because most people think that you just use like a brush like this. And then you just start to mold and everything with a brush. Or you just use like a tool like this. And you start mold everything with a tool. Not at first. That is for more complex shape. But you don't want to, with a piece of clay dough, just draw clay dough like that. You don't want to take tool or brush and start molding it. It's going to take you forever. So that is how you start. You use your finger to roll it into 4 different basic shapes. Okay, so the noodle, I'm returning it to the circle shape. It's always easier to go back to the circle. And then that's when I start to roll out the noodle. Okay. And one thing about the noodle is when it's short, it's fine. But when it's long, let me roll it out longer. Now, your finger is tiny compared to the long noodle. So when it comes to a certain point, you will have issues. Number one is, see it jumping like this? See that? That is coming rolling too fast. So just be slow, nice and slow, back and forth. Like that. So that's your problem. Number one is make sure that it's stable. And the reason why it's bounce around like that, because the surface are not sticky, which is a good sign, right? But also, another issue that you might encounter is the unevenness. You see, it takes skill to make an even noodle like this, but sometimes when people rough, when they have man's hand, then, but most of people work in the industry is women. Most women have gentle hand. There is men in the industry, maybe not from the birth certificate, but there's men here. And sometimes they have heavy hand, strong hand. And when they roll like this, okay, another problem that they could experience is unevenness. Like big on one side, small, big again, small. And that comes from your fingers. Because your finger only cover this much. So your pressure make this area really small, where this area is untouched. So another thing that you can do, and I love to do this, is you can take out these. And I need a tool. This is my engraver and mixer, by the way. And I love to use it for clay dough too, to pick up clay dough. So I like to take this piece out, okay? And you want to make sure that it's smooth. You don't want it to be like this. These are like when it's in different shape and I just put it together, but I'm not rolling it together. So it's actually 2 separate pieces, see? I take it out and in and out. So if you were to leave it like this and roll out, then your noodle might fall apart because it's 2 separate pieces. So make sure that you put some pressure in and roll it back into a basic shape of the circle. Lay it down here, use your finger just a little bit. And now you can use this because this ensure that you have nice and even surface, and it's way bigger than your fingers. So you can take this and roll, and that will give you more of a chance of evenness, perfection without even trying. So as I say, you can use your fingers, if you want to reach to that level where your hand and finger are tender and ladylike, and you can maneuver every shape flawlessly. Or you can use trick. You can use different tool. I love to use this tool. It's so easy. Okay, so now you must have all kind of question for me. Question number one is, Tina, why do you use papers? Why don't you use these? I saw, when people working with clay online, they use this. Yes, there is nail form involved, but that's just a little part of it. That's just a part that you've seen online. This is a part that you haven't seen online yet, because not a lot of people want to show all the secrets. So I am going to explain for you why I use paper, and then why I have this to use this also. So I'm gonna take this clay dough, okay, and I'm gonna lay on this surface. Okay, so when I lay it on this surface of a nail form or a backing of a sticker, any surface that is slick and not made out of paper is not absorbing. It is perfect for resting the clay dough on, because it's not going to stick. And when it's settled, like if you leave here for about 5 minutes and it's settled down, you can just pluck it out. And it's extremely nice and clean. And you can even leave it on the surface and cure with a light. Like I have a seashell light. I can take this and I can cure this on the surface, and then I can pluck it out. I can also do that. Or I can take this and a brush, and I can work on it with a brush. And the material that I use, a brush conditioning cleanser. Now, a lot of people use alcohol because it's an old way. Basically, you want something wet to smooth out your clay dough. Okay, and water don't do it, because water doesn't mix with clay dough, so it will form a little droplet. So you need something that can melt clay dough. It can mix in with clay dough, and a lot of people use alcohol, but the thing is, alcohol dries really fast, and it make your brush brittle when you use with it a lot. And sometimes alcohol will melt clay dough into the brush and dry in it, and you just have to dip in alcohol constantly. Now, this, you only need to dip in a little bit of this, and you can keep working on it, because this doesn't evaporate like alcohol do. It is an oil base, but it's very friendly with gel. It's a type of oil that can be mixed into gel. So this doesn't dry out. And I absolutely love this, because little amount can make my clay dough so nice and smooth. Where alcohol, after a while, when it starts evaporating on the clay dough and on my brush, I can see brush stroke on my clay dough using a brush with alcohol. Well, with this, it's all smooth. I see no brush stroke at all. So you can brush this brush conditioning cleanser onto the nail form, because it's not paper. So doesn't matter how much liquid you use. You can cure this and such, and you can just pluck this pea out just like this. So this is a nice resting surface, because when you brush it, you need it to rest on that surface. Now, the reason why I don't roll in this, I call this a rolling mat. This is a resting mat. This is a rolling mat. Why? Because do you see this residue here? I'm not sure if you can see it well, but there is slight residue on the surface. And if I take this and I roll it out, okay, I still can do it, just like paper. Okay, it's bounce around. Now, when I work with this, I might not notice the problem, but at a certain point, you see this? Where it stays still, this is rolling, but this doesn't roll. Why? Because it's sticky. Okay, is it because why the surface is sticky? No, the surface is non-stick, but this is gels. It's not complete clay, it's gel. It can cure. So when you roll it around, it will have residue that come off it. And this residue, it will take you no more than a couple minutes to make this completely sticky. So that is why I roll on a paper surface, because a paper surface, it have little hair. It's not completely smooth like a nail form. And your clay dough will just like lay on it instead. So when you roll it, it don't have gel residue. That's why this paper is perfect for rolling. And when you working with flour, which is a pie shape, it's a flat shape that I haven't shown you yet. But basically, you take a surface, okay, and you take another paper and you just spread it flat like this, okay, and then you can take it out. It's come out so easy, and that is your flower petal that you can use, okay? Seem easy enough, but if you ever do on this surface, you see the problem right away, because when you press on it, now it is non-stick, you can pluck it out if it's big like this. Now if it's flat like this, I press it so the pressure make it just a little resistant, and when I take it out, it still go out fine. But as you see, it wanna stick. So if your flour is very nice and flat, then when you take out, because of the slight struggle to take it out, because it have residue on the surface, because when I press it using any kind of pressure, then it will make your flour unattractive because there a little tearing going on there. Okay, so these surface are definitely not for rolling or using any kind of pressure. Paper is perfect. You ever do a flower petal where you press it flat and you couldn't take it out to where it's wholesome, where it's tear a little bit here and there, and it's very frustrating? Now you know. You just use paper. You use index paper because it's harder. It's not flimsy like the paper that I use for writing is flimsy. You don't want to use that. You want to use index card, and you just press it out, and I guarantee that it will come out just like that. See that? It will just fall out. It's very easy. So in my favorite scenario, I would love to take this nice piece of paper and this form, and I would like to tape it on here just like this, and now you have a dual working surface. I can easily make this and just sell you this, but I'm showing you how to make this. So now you have dual surface. You have a surface which you can roll on, you can press, you can flatten, fabulous, non-stick, and then you can rest upon this. Now, why do I still need this? Because when I say resting, I mean leaving it there for a while, for like 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is fast for when you work with 3D. Because if, let's say you leave it for 10 minutes, it will settle. So what it means settling is when a 3D gels, like Clay Doh or icing, when you leave it on the surface for a while, it starts to sort of melt onto the surface. And on this surface, when it's melt, as I say, you can just pluck it out. Okay, just because it's melt on the surface are flat. There's nothing on it for it to grab onto, so you can just pluck it out. That's why I call resting. Now, this paper, you roll it, it might not stick because residue cannot stick onto paper. That doesn't mean that when you rest it for 10 minutes, it will stick on you. And the reason why is this paper hair right here, okay? Your clay dough will lay nicely on top of this hair. But after a while, when it's melt into this hair, and let me give you an example. Let's take all of this out of the way. Oh, that's peach just literally fall out. So like this on the paper, okay? Don't worry, you have time. You have like at least like 3 or 4 minutes. You have time. You can just lay on here and just stroll around here. But for a awful long amount of time that you let it sit on, it will start to level. Okay, you ever heard of cell level gel? So it starts to level onto the surface and melting onto the surface. And with paper, you might find this happening. See that? See that? Okay, does that mean that the gel is sticky? No. And And with that, I use 3D icing because it's level faster. But that doesn't mean that your gel is sticky. It just means that it's have already level onto the surface. So that's why a paper surface is very ideal for rolling, for working on it. But the nail foam surface is ideal for laying and resting on. And if you see a nail artist that only use nail foam, that doesn't mean that they are wrong. It means that what they do are mostly sculpting. Okay, they just scoop like a square or a circle where they need it onto the surface and they are shaping it. Okay, they roll it out into a mini noodle and then they start to flatten both sides and flatten this side too with brush conditioning cleanser, of course, and then just flatten it out so they shaping it. Okay, that is just a form of art that they do. But you see, I do many things, not just a certain thing. So that's why now you see paper, because when it comes to rolling, instead of sculpting like this, where you roll it like clay, then paper is perfect. And you might already seen this situation if you work with nail foam and you are a roller. You might encounter this, but you might not aware of this. You might thought that you're just not that good, but no, it's not your fault. It's just the material choice and the surface choice that you choose. And I'll let you know that back in the old day, all of these gel are sticky, okay? And now today, non-stick is a new thing, and it comes from public demand because the public wants it to be non-sticky. We want it to be easy for us. We don't want it to be messy. So now our clay are perfect, are flawless. But how do you put something non-stick onto a nail? It's non-stick, right? It's non-stick. Well, these gels have inhibition layer. Okay, and it's just a little bit sticky, just enough that it can stick the gel temporarily on the surface. But if you put it onto a top coat surface, it's hard to stick it on. So there is two ways. Okay, number one is to use your skill. Be gentle, laying it under the surface, just like that, and lightly pat it. Because if you pat it strongly, it will try to stick onto your fingers. Because when it comes to a non-stick material, it's 50-50, either the nail or the fingers. It's that a fair chance that it stick on either. So you lightly pat it and it will keep it a little bit sticky on the nail surface. Assuming that this is top coat, then you just need to be gentle on it. And after a while, then you can increase your pressure because of why? Because now it is settling onto the surface. It is start to melt onto the surface. After 5 minutes of working on this, it will fuse onto the nail surface. You can cure and you might able to skip top coat. And if you want to make sure, you use brush conditioning cleanser. Okay, dip into my brush. And then you just going around on the bottom just a little bit. Or acetone, you can use acetone too. And this material, it will melt the product. Okay, it will melt the product because it is mixed into the product. That is how it's made. For you to work with it, see how nice and smooth it is. For you to work with it onto the surface. So it will be like a glue. Especially acetone, it will melt it into the surface. And then you can cure this, and that will help it stick even more to the surface. So that is how you stick it onto the nail. But that is a hard way. Okay, the easy way. Oh, and by the way, if you were to work with acetone, don't let it onto your gloves because acetone melts clay dough. So if it starts to getting really sticky, any 3D material that getting really sticky onto your hand, remember that you have acetone or alcohol or something onto your hand that melt the material. So be very careful. Work clean. That's why you have all kind of surface to work on because it makes sure everything is clean. But the easier way to stick clay dough onto your nails, it is sticky gel. It's my favorite. And until this day, when I'm really, really good with this material, I still use sticky because it's just so easy. You just take any kind of brush. You can take a round brush or you can take a coloring brush and you can dip just a little bit of it in. And let's say you want to draw like, want to do like a petal, then you know your side of the petal, you can just put a little bit of sticky here. And if you already know ahead of time, if it have 5 petals, then you just do this. You don't have to draw out the entire shape. You can just dip in a little bit of this and cure, and it will be super sticky when you're done curing it. See, I'm gonna make some petal. So for petal, of course, I want it to be teardrop. So now you can work with a purpose. Before, a lot of people, they just get sort of guessing and it's very inconsistent. And when you work with 3D, if it's inconsistent, then it's gonna take you forever. You need a system where you know exactly what to do. See now, when I do a teardrop, I do all 5. I do all 5 teardrop for 5 petals just because I know my system. Where a person that doesn't get used to their system, they do a petal just because it's not sure, and then they will press it onto the nail, and then they move on and do another petals. You basically work in blind. Okay, when now you work with confidence because you already know what stick, what not stick. You already know, okay, I'm done with all these. I need to move these in here. If I don't move it in here, then there might be a problem if I take too long. See, I know all the drill. So there is no fear of whatsoever. I know that it will, after I'm done, it will be completely beautiful. So that is confidence, and you do want to work with confidence. And sticky is already done. I will let you see it again. Sticky is a gel that are super sticky like duct tapes. Okay, it's very strong. If you want, you can use a tool to pick it up, but I usually just use my finger. Okay, you can just press it onto a tool like this and put it in here if you want. But there's people that do that. I don't do that. I just use my fingers. It's quick and easy. But what you do is you lay it onto the sticky and then you can start molding it out nicely. See how easy it is? And then if you don't want texture onto your petal, then you can just start using another tool like the silicone tool where it smoothens everything out instead of giving texture to it. You see how beautiful and easy to, and as I say, I just use my fingers. Picking it up gently. You don't want to use pressure. But remember, pressure helps things stick a little bit more. So if you don't want that, then don't use pressure. At first, when you press lightly. Just because that's sticky on the surface, that doesn't mean that it will, when you press, there'll be no problem at all. Because what I do is that I just lay it on gently on the surface, so it's just floating on the surface. Sticky will help it stay on the surface much better. But if you press too hard, sometimes, not all the time, the Clay Doh will stick to the tool instead. Depend on what you have on that tool. If you have a little bit of acetone and soap or a little bit of alcohol, it will try to stick on the tool. Sometimes, maybe 4 out of 10 times it's happened, but I just want to warn you so you know what to expect. So when it comes to molding, I always start out light. Just give it a head start. See right now, it's smooth and flat. I start out a little light. Just give it a little indentation. Then I can just go in. Never just go in really fast. If you do, it's fine. Like this, put it in and press. It's fine. It's just my habit. I've always start out little light tap and then press it in. Just because, as I say, maybe not 4 out of 10, but 1 out of 10 times, this would just stick to the tool. Very rarely, but it's happened. Be aware of that. See how easy it is. If you ever have problem with doing just a simple flower, no, and it's so annoying because you see all these people who do all these awesome shape like me. I do in the koi fish, have fin on it, and sometimes people get mad at themselves. They be like, I couldn't even do a basic flower. What's wrong with me? Nothing wrong with you, just the surface, the way, the material, how you handle it. You can cure right now, but if you're smart, you leave it there for a minute because, as I say, if stick your material to the surface, that's good. But you want that melting where it's fused with the background, and it will do that with time. That's number one. That's how you stick onto the surface or fuse it onto the surface. Is one is timing. Two is material, melting material like acetone or brush conditioning cleanser. If you don't want to wait, you can dip in a little bit of that, and you just touch the base, and it's liquid, so it will immediately fuse around the petal, and that is when you can cure, and it will stay on for a long time. Now, how will you secure this? If you don't wait for it to fuse, okay, or if you forgot, you don't remember if you use this or not, acetone or brush conditioning cleanser, then what you can do is top coating. Very few number of people top coat their 3D, especially when it comes to flowers. But this is my shiny top coat. If it's a round shape or a circle, I need more. Let me get more. By the way, this is my refill bottle. If you don't have it, it's a best deal if you love my top coat. And our new top coat is hammer-free too. Oh, I haven't opened this. A lot of products that I have are hammer-free now, like what you see, Clay Doh. I started making it hammer-free. Some products still need hammer in it, and TPO, small amount of hammer and small amount of TPO for doing what it does. But the product that are hammer-free and TPO-free, I write it on here, so you know. And I also write it on to my shop. See, an item that are hammer-free and TPO-free, I write it right here. Okay, so you know. And anything that doesn't have hammer-free or TPO-free advertised, then that means they have small amount of hammer. And when I'm an artist, so when it comes to material, some material, I cannot make it hammer-free and TPO-free for a reason, because I need it to do what it does. So I have everything for everyone. Now, when it comes to top coating, I can take a brush like this, okay? And as I say, if it's like a square and a circle, then I would just top coat everything on it because it's nice and smooth. But if it's textury, like if I were to make this flower textury, okay, by using an engraver, see, this is how you do it too. I will have separate lesson to make design out of Clay Doh. I want to keep my lesson sort of separate. See, it's just getting to know Clay Doh, how to work with it, all the do's and don'ts about it. And then for design, I have different lessons. So you can pick and choose. But if you have texture like this, I wouldn't want to top coat it. It'll be a hot mess. So what I do is top coat around it. That works too. That also will seal it because the top coat around it will stick to the Clay Doh like glue. And then it will stick to the background. And now you have a secure background, a secure piece of 3D art, but you don't tamper with the surface. You can do that. You can either top coat everything if it's ideal, or you can top coat around it. And for the new Clay Doh, the pot is bigger. I have black, white, and red, the three popular color shades that I have. And I will have more and more hammer-free and TPO-free Clay Dohs. Okay, so these are the three new one. Okay, new label, new everythings. Anything that are not like this, any Clay Doh that are not look like this, is have hammer in it. Okay, that's my previous Clay Doh, but these, I absolutely love this. And of course, the formula is better too. It is softer, non-stick, and it's so easy to work with. So that is how you use Clay Doh, when to use it, how to work with it, what shape to make from it, and the surface. Remember, the surface is so important. It will help you a lot. And how to stick it to the finger. You'd be surprised of how many people have problem sticking something that are non-stick to the finger. And a lot of educators forgot about that. Just because it's easy for us to maneuver, that doesn't mean that some beginner are not struggling with it. And then now you know how to secure this. All the basic steps that you need to know before you even mess with Clay Doh. And don't forget to subscribe us on YouTube at Tinovo. And everything that I use today is available at www.tinovo.shop. And until next time, bye-bye.